Hey guys, Susannah here. Nice to have you with me today. I'm in Barcelona. It's a day's holiday, so you're going to hear a lot of people playing beach volleyball. I'm doing some YouTube videos for you, and then I'm going for a swim in the sea. Done my workout already. So today we're looking at what are the phrases of refurb called and how many of them are there. And before we get into that, I want to talk to you about the mistakes that people make on managing refurbs and the mistakes that you need to avoid if you're going to be successful when you're managing refurbs. Are you ready? There's quite a few of them. They'll sound obvious to you, but when it comes to it, the chances are you'll probably end up making a couple of them unless you follow this video or unless you're like, right, I'm absolutely going to be super organized. So number one is don't run a refurb without a written spec. In quite a few of my academies, I supply you the spec that I use with my architects and the spec I use with my builders. So a clear written spec so that when you get quotes in from the builder, it's apples with apples and it's very clear, precisely to the number of plugs, exactly what the builder's going to do for you. So you're not going to have problems with running a refurb later on. Secondly, don't do a refurb without a contract. Again, you don't want just a piece of paper going 25 grand, 40 grand, 75 grand. Well, how are you going to agree or disagree whether that work has been delivered or not? You need a contract. I like you to use the minor works contract from JCB. You can download it from their website. Third mistake that people make when they're running refurbs. This is a biggie. No fixed price. They go on day rate. Can you imagine? What do you think day rate's good for? The builder. Why is day rate good for the builder? Because they don't need to go out and look for more work. They can, and I don't mean that they always do, but they can stretch out the work because they're getting paid per day, not about the productivity. Your job is to get the project done, dusted, fast, furious, in, out, gone, boom, good quality. Their job, understandably so, is to get paid. And if you're saying, I'll just pay you if you turn up, rather than I'll pay you if you do the work, on day rate, that's a big mistake, and it means that your agenda and their agenda are at kind of cross purposes. Don't do that. You want a fixed price contract for the work, and you want that agreed up front in the contract and in the spec. Do you see how this all follows? Spec, contract, fixed price for the work. Next mistake is paying up front. I've worked with lots of builders. Almost all of them have been great. A couple of them, the workmanship wasn't very good, and I have had 2 con men. So not many out of everybody I've worked with, but con men are con men, and let's just say it how it is, because instead of being very good at doing their job and therefore getting paid for their job, they're very good at persuading you to release money, because they're not very good at their job, but they're very good at giving you excuses and spiel that sounds realistic. So one of them will be, well, I can't pay for materials up front. Okay, fine, you're not my builder. If you haven't got the cash flow to manage a normal process, which is I pay for materials and then upon the different stages of a refurb, you get paid, you're not in business long enough. Also, if that's absolute, and I can't say the rude word, but it begins with B and then there's an SH and an I and a T in there. That's absolute, you know, because they should be having trade accounts where they've negotiated 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So if they can't pay for materials up front, it's because they haven't opened trade accounts. If they haven't opened trade accounts, why not? Either they're terrible at admin or they've got terrible credit scores and they're not given any credit at trade accounts. And why have they got terrible credit scores? Well, in the case of the big con man that I work with, because he'd already made himself bankrupt and his wife had made herself I can't remember. One of them had been made bankrupt twice and one of them had been made bankrupt once. So within that couple, there were 3 bankruptcies. And here I didn't check them out, their credit score, which is another mistake. And I got taken for a ride. It didn't happen more than twice, but it happened twice. So the con men are amazing at giving you a plausible excuse as to why you need to give them money up front. No. Move away, find another builder. Next mistake is exactly what I just talked about, not checking them out. Checking out their insurance, checking out their credit score, and looking on a company house website, checking whether they've gone bankrupt before. People can go bankrupt, I understand that, but often it's an indication of a problem. And final mistake is health and safety. If you are starting out in property, you're going to think, well, actually, it's the builder's responsibility to do health and safety. It's, you know, he's employing his men. It's nothing to do with me. There's CDM, which is probably going to be for bigger projects than the project you're going to do, but within that, the same principles, broadly speaking, apply. There's a principal contractor, principal designer, and a principal client. And if you don't formally appoint them with letters, and again, I've got those in my academies for you guys, then you're all three, and guess what? You're responsible for health and safety. So you've got to appoint formally the person who's responsible for health and safety, but that still doesn't totally let you off the hook. You've still got to go on site and be sure that they're following broad procedures. And those are very roughly going to be the right signage, the right fencing, the right safety gear, so shoes, hard hats, high-vis jackets, sign in, sign out for on-site, and just safety things like making sure people don't lift. I think it's more than 20 kilos. I'd need to double check that. And if you've got scaffold that is ticketed, it's checked by somebody from the scaffold company every single week, because obviously scaffold can be dangerous. Those are all mistakes. Now let's talk about the 3 stages of refurb. I'm going to assume that you are doing a super simple renovation and a flat or an apartment. You're not building a house, you're not building a block of flats, you're not doing a loft extension, you're not doing a massive extension out the back. You're simply renovating a property. There are 3: first fix, second fix, and snagging. So simple. And within your contract, you probably will do the payment schedule on those 3, which is why I started off with the mistakes I don't want you to make. So first fix, if I can explain it in layman's terms, is basically all of the services going into the house, like the water, the gas, the electricity. So how I will explain it to you is the wiring has been kind of channeled into the walls, and the ends of the wires are hanging out like wiggly worms. You know, there's no lights put onto them, possibly because it still needs to be plastered or tiled or painted, and so they've put in the wiring behind the walls, and the ends are hanging out ready to have plugs or lights. And the same with the toilet. The shower bit the pipe will be sticking out. The bits for the taps will be sticking out. But all the pipe work behind the scenes has been put into place. That is called first fix. Usually you would pay a builder at that point for having done the first fix. And obviously you'll check it against your spec and go, has every plug been put in? Is every piece of pipe work been put in? If you've got gas, has the gas work been put in? First fix. Second fix, that's when, here's my wiggly worm, the thing goes on. So whether it's your shower head, or whether it's your tap, or whether it's your plug sockets, or whether it's your light switches or your lights, second fix is usually that the usable services have been put in. Now often, usually I like to have the kitchen put in by this point, because so your kitchen's in, maybe or maybe not your tiling's in, but you've got your second fix in. On second fix, you will pay again, right? You've got to second fix. Let's just double check. Has everything put in? Can you test it? Does it all work? Great. Okay, I'll pay for second fix. So your second payment will go across to the builder. Then the final bit is going to be when the builder says, Susannah, I'm finished. And you think, you're probably not, but, and you say, brilliant. You don't pay them at that point. It moves to a stage called snagging. And so you'll have paid kind of a third, then a third, so you've paid 2/3, and then your contract, when they say yep, finished, you'll quickly check to make sure they're not taking the mickey, and you might pay them the third. That's, so we got 30%, 30%, not thirds, sorry, 30, 30, 30, but you retain 10% for snagging. So you'll just quickly double check and think, have they done the great majority? You may well at that point pay them because that's what you've got in their contract, but you've retained 10%. At that point, you go over the house with a fine tooth comb. Not because you're trying to be a little naggy person, but because you're genuinely trying to pick up mistakes. There are always going to be some mistakes. And so you want to go over the house with a fine tooth comb, and before you can pay that final 10%. Now, I don't pay the third part when they say, Susannah, I've finished, until I've received the documentation. If you put in windows, fencer, if you got building regs, if you got gas safety certificate, if you got the electricity certificate, I can never say that one, EIR, that one. Yes, and although the builders will protest quite loudly while they're in the post, I've sent off the certification to the organisation, I hold firm. Unless I have the certificates, we can't say that you have technically finished before we finish off the snagging bit. It does occasionally create friction, so it's something you probably want to discuss really early on with the builders so that they can get their paperwork early and remind them of that. So we've got first fix where you pay 30%, second fix where you pay 30%, what they call completion, where you might pay 30% and you've retained 10%, which is snagging. Now you go over it all. Once you are fully satisfied, you've got everything, you pay your final 10% and that's it, job done. So really there are 4 stages, aren't there, to a normal renovation, and they tie beautifully in with your contract, with your payment schedule and your agreement. So I hope that's been super useful for you guys. I love renovating houses. I love making things come back to life, adding value, all of that stuff, and I hope that you really enjoy it too. I've got some great resources for you on my website. It's thegoodpropertycompany.co.uk. Things for flipping, things for property development, things for finding discounted deals, things for getting started, some fantastic packs for you to download, and 4 superb, high quality, fully comprehensive 60-day academies, as well as webinars on demand, and occasionally I do some live webinars too. So I'd love you to hop on over there and really get your fill of some great property education, as well as some free stuff. And remember to like and subscribe the YouTube channel as well. So there we are. That's the solution to what are the phrases of a refurb called and how many are there. First fix, second fix, completion and snagging completed, 4 phases, and I told you the mistakes not to do as well, which were no contract, no design spec, no fixed price, paying up front, forgetting about health and safety, and the final one, no insurance. Don't make any of those mistakes and you'll do fine. Good luck to you in property.
Good luck to you. I hope you enjoyed that vid. There is a 101 lessons pack if you haven't downloaded it already, 102 pages, I don't stint. If you just click on the link over there, you can download it now.